Roast pork, crackling. So the question I get asked a lot is, how do I make my pork have beautiful crackling? It's very simple, actually. It's not much of a myth. There's no real hack. Buy great pork. Dry aged, it's got a really nice dry skin on it. And if you follow these little tips, you'll have perfect, beautiful crackling every time. First thing I do is not cook all of this because that's too big. So I'm just gonna take probably those many bones there, straight through, and we're just gonna cook this piece here. We'll keep that for another day. Just gonna score it. Why do they score the skin on pork? The reason is, if you score it, that fat melts underneath, it comes up in the cooking process over the top of the skin and creates that blistering and that crackling that we all want. You can do this with a craft knife or a razor or whatever, but I just tend to use a really nice sharp paring knife. As long as it's sharp, you're not trying to cut all the way down to the meat, you're just trying to cut the skin to a point where it will allow the fat to come through. That will be fine for me. Now, this is the trick. This is the bit that's really important. I now rub this with oil, put a little bit of oil on and just massage that in nicely. And I take some salt, way too much salt. This is coming off, don't panic. This is not staying on. I do that in the morning, on a Sunday morning, if I'm doing my roast pork, and I leave that. I'll go and read the paper and eat my boiled eggs, and I leave that there for about an hour. And that just sits there and takes any finished moisture out, and that acts as a platform to take the moisture out and give us even crispier skin. Okay, that's had a good hour or so. We're just gonna wipe that salt off. Gonna pop it into a roasting tray of sorts or whatever takes your fancy. And basically it's the same thing again. That salt's been washed off, discarded, the water's gone away. Massage the oil in. Go back on with a little more salt. You're gonna eat this salt now, so don't go crazy. That is now gonna go into a 230-degree oven. It's gonna go in there for 25 minutes, and then that's gonna get dropped down to 160. Simple. Do that, look at the result. So there's only one thing that I want with my roast pork and my crackling, and that is Bramley applesauce. This is how I make Bramley applesauce. I'm sure everyone's got their own method. You can also buy some really nice stuff, but this doesn't have any odd things added to it. It's really pure, and actually, I just love that sort of slightly sweet and sour feeling of a really sour Bramley apple that's been cooked properly and give you that fantastic balance between the fattiness of the pork and the richness of the fat on the pork and that apple puree. Then I'm going to cut them into quarters. I'm going to take out the core and I'm going to roughly chop them into pieces. So there's a nice pan, there's a lid, in goes the beautiful apples. So in there, it's very simple. Then goes the sugar. This is just simple white sugar. In goes your butter, a good amount of it. It goes in like so. Really good use for a butter paper on the top like that. A little bit of salt in there as well, really important. I'm gonna put a lid on, and that's going on a really slow heat, really slow as I can get it, for about 40 minutes. Mustn't stick on the bottom, so we must get that moisture to come out of the apples so it floats on the bottom, it doesn't catch. Really important, nice slow heat. So here's that beautiful applesauce. Sweet, sour, Bramley apples. Love Bramley applesauce. And here's that pork with the lovely crackling, nicely cooked. What more could you want?